The following show is for entertainment purposes only and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of Empire Media LLC, its subsidiaries, affiliates, sponsors, and advertisers.
Can they hear me? Can they hear me live out there? Next beat. That ain't the beat I want.
Those was wood
another
beats
beat.
right
Another
there.
beat. Nope. Give me another beat. Give me another beat. Nope. That's not it. That's the beat. Turn it up. Oh, word. Turn it up. I gotta hear it a little louder. Can't make it louder than my headphones. Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, natty ghosts, feelers, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody getting shot. Working a hustling to get it, a get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater, watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college park to bank out, cause you don't wanna get caught at mom's crib or at Vaughn's crib. Eating funny dinner with the fam. Church every Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. And even if I fell asleep in the back row or played sick, no matter what, man, I still had to go. 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm a rapper.
Welcome to the XCast, everybody. How we doing? It's been, we've had 2 weeks off here on the XCast, but we are back. We are back with a vengeance. We are coming at you tonight with webisode number 45J. Why the J? Because this is our Deep Issues cast. It is day 4,728 in the search for Tim Shovelday. I am joined with some of the usual suspects of the Deep Issues segment. Of course, here as always is the producer Adam Hernandez, and Ed Zaharsky's in the house today as well. What's up, Ed? What's up, Adam?
Let's go.
Ed's been here for the past, I think 5 shows.
Pretty much. Yeah, he's supposed to just be the official Deep Issues correspondent, but I like it when you're here. That's good.
I like being here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely no Kyle tonight, but he'll join us on the next one.
Cool.
I know Kyle really is trying to do the the once a month Deep Issues correspondent.
He's been here
thing.
this month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he couldn't make it this time, but I'm sure he'll be back for the next one. We don't know what the next one will be. We won't know till the end of the show when Pumpkin tells us.
That's right.
But
Conspiracy has been rigged. They already know.
Is the Pumpkin conspiracy in Pumpkin for a potential Deep Issues?
we should put that in there.
The Pumpkin conspiracy.
I think we could go a good 2 hours on that one.
Probably could. In fact, we're about to if we don't switch gears and actually tell everyone what tonight's topic is, because we haven't even said that yet. Tonight's topic on the Deep Issues show is Men in Black. No, not that silly Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones movie, but the actual Men in Black. What that movie was extremely loosely based on, this idea that we have people coming to check up on the situation after people have seen UFOs, have had a close encounter of the first, second, third, or fourth kind. Let me ask you guys something real quick to start out. Men in Black, the movie came out when? Well,
we looked it up before the show starts.
Okay.
97.
97. So we were teenagers, basically, and you all listening at home know how old you were in 1997. The three of us vary in age a little bit, but yeah, exactly. If you existed, but the three of us vary in age to some degree. But we were all teenagers in 97, and then in our 20s and whatever when maybe even 30s when the sequels came out. I confess I don't think I ever saw the third one. I think I saw the second one.
I've never even seen the second one. I saw the first one.
I think I recall seeing the second one. I remember the first one being funny. But the real question I have is, had you guys heard of the Men in Black the way we're going to discuss them? Had you guys heard of that before that movie came out?
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Ed, you had, yes. Yeah. You were a William Cooper follower, a John Lear follower. Yeah, so I had to. And one of the things, but Ed or Adam, you have heard of the Men in Black since then. What that was,
what the actual,
what it was based off of, very loosely based off.
Yes,
and we'll get in later as to whether or not that was potentially put out there as disinformation. This movie. because many do believe that these movies were made as disinformation to silly up or hide what the Men in Black really are, in essence, doing out there. The main thing for me is that I wanted to say why I wanted to bring this up is that I remember this vividly. You said the movie came out in 97, so this would have probably been around 1996 or early 1997, because I don't know exactly what date.
96, we had Independence Day, so that was,
Okay.
still an alien.
Ed and I, at the time, with some other people, Ed can vouch for this, we used to go see a brand new movie just about every single Friday night.
Sometimes Saturday too.
Yeah, and sometimes Saturday too. But that was our thing when we were big into movies, and it's just what you did here in suburban Detroit, where we grew up, So we were at the movies, and Adam actually worked at a movie theater around that time or a little after that time, if I recall correct.
Not in 96.
Okay, but
I was
well, you were very young in 96.
I started working there in 2000.
You'd have been 13 years old in 1996, correct? Yes,
Probably,
yeah. But so yeah, you weren't working there yet. But when I first met Adam, he was working at a movie theater.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But I vividly remember. But anyway, I segue in because we were always at the movies. That was our thing. And I vividly remember seeing a teaser trailer for The Men in Black. And I was so into conspiracies at the time. I was already a big follower of William Cooper, big follower of John Lear, big into these conspiracies. The people talking Illuminati, people talking alien conspiracies, gray aliens, but MJ-12, all of these things, Area 51. I was huge into this at the time. And when I saw this teaser trailer, the teaser trailers, they're not showing Will Smith, they're not showing Tommy Lee Jones, of The Men in Black, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, they're going to make a movie about the Men in Black. I mean, I didn't think it was a documentary. I thought, oh, sure, it'd be a fiction movie or something. But I'm thinking at the time, as a 17-year-old, thinking, oh my God, they're actually going to expose some of this stuff. They're going to talk about this. They're going to actually have a movie about the Men in Black. This is going to be awesome. Then, a couple months later, again, every Friday night we're at the movies, so we're seeing all these previews all the time. A couple months later, I see the trailer, the actual trailer, and I still remember that trailer this day because it pops up with, big explosion, big spaceship explodes, and Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are standing there, and they got the big futuristic guns, and Will Smith says something along the lines of, "Get out, you busted ass ship," or something along those lines, and remain silent or something like that. And I was just like, oh, it's a joke. It's a silly comedy. They're taking the Men in Black, something that I'm staying up, I'm awake at night, thinking that, oh, I'm reading all this stuff. I'm reading all this stuff, reading all these books. The Men in Black are going to come visit me. I'm thinking this. And then I see this thing, and it's Will Smith, and it's Tommy Lee Jones, and they're being goofy, and there's silly green aliens, and they're blowing them up. And I'm like, oh, that's what they're doing. They're taking this thing, and they're making it silly. They're doing a goof. It's not even something as cool as on par with the X-Files. They're just making a huge joke out of it. With that being said, I saw the movie opening night because, again, that's what we did. And I liked it. It was a funny movie. I dig the movie. It's cool. But a total joke. A total joke. And totally not. And since then, it seems to me like the idea of Men in Black, this as a legitimate conspiracy. I know people say there are no legitimate conspiracies. Well, some people feel that way. But the Men in Black as a legitimate conspiracy since this has happened has died down considerably. And even in the internet age, there's not a ton of info out there about the Men in Black compared to the Illuminati, the Freemasons, Area 51. Compared to those things, there's not that much info out there on the Men in Black. Jump in, Ed.
So isn't this kind of what Hollywood does? They're basically just a giant mis and disinformation machine. You take something, maybe you throw a few elements of truth in there, and you basically just weave this big web of fiction and essentially kind of divert attention away, kind of make a joke about it, like, oh, that's what all the conspiracy theorists were believing.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
Obviously, this talk of Men in Black is silly because look at what it is. Oh yeah, this is going on. But, and I'm glad you took that turn, because I was going to bring this up actually towards the end of the show, but this might be actually a good way to start the show, is just by talking about this with Hollywood, because we've seen this. I mean, we've tried to expose here on this show, and other people have probably done an even better job than us of exposing this. We talked about the Back to the Future stuff, the things hidden within there. We've talked about the hidden messages from, whether it be the Illuminati or the Freemasons, things that are just visible within these films, within these movies. And we do know for a fact that Hollywood has an agenda. Hollywood does have an agenda. You may disagree with what the agenda is. You may say, oh, they may have an agenda, but the agenda isn't to hide the Illuminati conspiracies. It's not to hide what the government's doing. Well, I would maybe disagree with that, but I think most people would agree that Hollywood has an agenda. And do you guys think there's something to this? Are they making movies to try to divert our attention from things?
No.
No?
No.
But Adam, we saw you remember when we were watching the Back to the Future thing. This was after the show, and Ed had us watch this Back to the Future thing.
I had you watch it.
Oh, you had me watch it. That's right. And hits at 9/11 and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And were you just kind of creeped out at the time, or do you not think that this?
Look, it's stuff like that is interesting, but what does Tom Hanks say in a movie in the Da Vinci Code? The mind sees what it wants to see.
Okay, so how do you explain all of those things then? How do you explain all the symbolism, because you don't, for that many things to happen accidentally,
I'm not going to,
the odds are ridiculous.
I can't go through and point out one by one what each means, but...
Well, even just take the Back to the Future one. That's an awfully lot of coincidences, and maybe you could say a couple, okay, you're just kind of reading into it, but for it to be that heavy on the symbolism, how could that not be purposely planted?
Well, look, as far as some of it goes, like the Marty McFly wearing the same jacket as he did in that movie. What was it called? The one that came out a few years ago about the tightrope across the World Trade Center.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was made by the same guy. So.
Zemeckis, right?
Something like that, yeah. So we could have been like, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and put, Marty McFly's jacket on him as a throwback to Back to the Future.
As an ode to myself. In essence, is what you're doing.
Exactly. The Twin Peaks, I think, was the name of the mall. How many times have we seen something called Twin Peaks?
It might have been a boob joke.
It could have been a boob joke. It could have been, yeah, exactly. Arab terrorists. We've seen Arab terrorists in more than one movie before. What else was there? The time frame. Maybe that is the most.
Sure.
That is the most interesting aspect of this whole thing. The time frame from I'll see you in 30 years that Doc says, and that may be the most interesting part of it. The thing that makes you go, oh, what's going on with this? But it's all made by the same guy, so I don't know. I think you've got to look into that a little bit more and think that, okay, well. Maybe the director was looking back on this movie, and things somehow may have lined itself up like that. But
so he just managed to place all of these things in the movie that you could just kind of twist around and make it look like he predicted.
Well, like I said, the mind sees what it wants to see. Sometimes I think that you go and you look at certain aspects of the movie, and like I said, how many things have we seen before called Twin Peaks? There was a TV show called. It was a TV show, right?
Yes, and it's back now, actually.
Yeah, there was a TV show called Twin Peaks.
David Lynch.
Yeah, Arab terrorists. We've seen Arab terrorist movies before. We've the director doing a throwback.
Arabs were typecast as terrorists long before 9/11.
Exactly. Delta Force One.
That's why they said that they did it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy
And hey,
theorist.
when it comes to the Back to the Future 9/11 thing, we're going to talk about that a lot in our September edition of this show. But so, Ed, I guess the question is, and if the answer to this is yes, it's okay. But do you think Ed and I are crazy when we say something along the lines of, this Men in Black movie may have been made to push disinformation, to show, to make people like Ed and I look crazy? You know, the idea that Men in Black perhaps really do exist. Or do you think that it's just them? They really do think people like us are crazy and they thought it'd be a goofy thing and they want to do it? Or do you think that they think it's serious and maybe they want to put it out there just to show that, hey, you know, look, dig a little deeper, look further into this?
I don't think I'm not going to call you guys crazy because, I mean, we've seen plenty of crazy things in this world to turn up to be true. I don't think Hollywood is trying to throw anybody off the scent, though, of there being an actual Men in, because I know we usually say this for the end of the show, but I do believe in the Men in Black. I think
Right.
that, I don't know necessarily if they're aliens or not, but I think that there is probably some government agency out there that is trying to throw people off the trail of UFOs. As far as Hollywood getting involved in something like that, I think we're and they're going to actually create a movie. Why would Hollywood create a movie that may in turn spark interest in it, so people start going and looking into it for themselves? I just think it's I think it's an interesting storyline. I think aliens sell. I think government agencies sell, as we've seen, years prior with X-Files. And they just went off of that.
I almost, to me, if I was going to try to bypass my conspiracy oriented self, I would say that the way Hollywood innocently, air quote, innocently affected this would be to say that somebody actually had a great idea to say, hey, let's make a movie about the Men in Black, and then Hollywood got their hands on it and turned it into a slapstick comedy. Yeah, I mean, just like along those lines. But, go ahead.
Honestly, I don't think that Hollywood... Well, first off, I think they're a little bit cocky when they do this. They purposely kind of flash their calling card when they essentially show exactly what they're doing. But I don't think these movies exactly make people go out and say, hey, I'm going to try and learn about the real Men in Black. Or, they see Independence Day and say, I'm going to look into... I don't think it's driving anybody to do that. If anything, it might do the opposite.
Well, I think there are. And I'm not saying that, everybody's going to be doing something like this. But, I mean... even in that sense, I mean, isn't one person really digging into it enough to freak out the government or the secret agency?
No, there's enough mis and disinformation out there.
Yeah, I think they throw it out there to make it look like now all the people are doing it. Hey, maybe you do make.
See, I disagree.
Maybe you do make, some more people. Maybe you do make a couple thousand more people look into it, but for every person that looks into it, now you got 10 saying, oh yeah, I saw that movie, it was stupid.
But still, there's more people going to be looking into it.
Like Area 51 with Independence Day or any of these.
Exactly. And I don't know. I think that in turn sparks the interest rather than
it might.
Rather than hinders that interest. So,
which is why I brought up the idea that is there forces within Hollywood trying to say this, but they don't want to really say it. They want to throw it out there to try to get people to say it. Maybe who knows what inner wars are going on in the depths of Hollywood. I don't know. But we're jumping around here. That's okay. It's our show. We can jump around however we want. But let's lay down. Let's
jump around if we want to.
Exactly. So let's lay the groundwork for what the Men in Black are. Not necessarily the debates within the debate, but the basic idea that there have been many reports dating back to the 40s of men dressed in black, looking like they are official government individuals or, official members of some organization, well-dressed, always dressed in black suits, that seem to appear to people after these people have witnessed UFOs. after people claim that they have seen a UFO, many claim that they are visited by a man or by men dressed in black that come question them, that at times, again, allegedly, threaten them, tell them they need to stop talking about it. There are many, many instances of this. And if you believe in this idea, you then have to take it a step further and say, if there's people coming out saying, I saw a UFO and then was threatened by a man dressed in black to never talk about this again, how many of those people listened? You know, if this is happening, vast majority of people, if they think they see a UFO and they start telling everyone, God, guys, I don't know, I swear I saw some UFOs the other night. I know I sound crazy. And then somebody dressed in black comes and knocks on their door, invites themselves in, sits down at your kitchen table and says, remember that UFO you saw? Yeah. No, you don't remember that UFO you saw. And if you value your life, you value your family's life, you'll never speak about this again. Truth is, the vast majority of the public are going to listen. They're actually going to say, okay, I'm not going to report this. I'm not going to say a word about this.
A couple of other things, Josh. Everything that I've seen, there's been at least two.
Yeah.
Two guys, two men in black guys visiting individuals.
I'll please continue. I'm not trying to interrupt, but I'll tell you when there is one.
Okay. Many individuals have said that they are very, very odd looking, which is one of the things that is very, I don't want to say concerning, but it puts people on edge. Some of the stuff that I've heard, they're the same height, like exactly the same height.
Always tall,
very pale white skin. Some of them, I've heard reports of them having like big eyes. Some of them like blue, like very, very blue, and they're almost like hypnotic almost.
No facial hair. No
facial hair at all. And they talk in a very monotone type of voice. What was some of the other description that they had?
Never facial hair, as in a beard, a mustache, a goatee, but sometimes people report that they appear hairless completely.
Yes.
As in no eyebrows, no hair on their head.
And this one instance that I was listening up on too, it looks like it didn't happen too long ago, like maybe the mid to early 2000s, where they actually got them on a surveillance video. They showed them walking in, and the description fit, exactly what we've heard before. They were wearing long black trench coats. They had the black fedora on. They had, obviously the white shirt, black tie, looked like a black sport coat on, black pants, black shoes. At that point, it said that they had sunglasses. And that's where a lot of my description comes from, was this instance here. And the lady who was talking about him, who was actually describing him to the guy that they were actually looking for, said that it almost felt like they could read her mind. And she was doing everything that she could to try to think of something else, not think of the guy that they were asking about. But she just couldn't help it. She did everything she could, and eventually they left, and they never heard from these guys again. But that was one of the things that really got to her. She felt like they were able to read her mind. And even too, when I was going through this and listening up on this and reading up on this, it actually kind of freaked me out a little bit. It kind of puts you on edge, because what we're doing right now, in some instances, was enough for the quote-unquote men in black to come and knock on the door.
Absolutely.
And, get us to, cease operation. So if anybody is watching tonight and everybody's listening tonight, if things go cold, if things kind of cut out, I mean, we have Facebook Live going right now. Who knows?
And I shouldn't say this because this may put all our lives at risk, but if one or more of the three of us in a few weeks or a few months or at some point decide to go live on air or publish something that says we were completely wrong about the Men in Black and that no such organization exists and that we think the idea of UFOs or aliens is crazy,
God, Josh is fucking us right now.
then please think twice about said statement, because that is what someone would say
We got to come back next week and say that.
if they were visited by the Men in Black. Now, you're right, Adam,
Yeah.
that when people are visited by them, it always seems to be two or three men. Russ says usually only one of them does the talking. In these instances, where singular Men in Black have been cited is usually when they don't approach.
Yes, and that's a good point, Josh, because
somebody lurking in the shadows.
There was a documented
feel
photo
like you're
back.
being followed.
Yes, there was a documented photo back, I believe, in the '60s, where a guy, I think it was a UFO researcher. I don't have his name in front of me, but he actually snapped a photo.
Yes.
Of one of these Men in Black, and they never approached him or anything like that. But he was able to get a photo, and it was, again, it could have been just a guy in a fedora and a black suit, but
and that is something that is of all the conspiracies or the strange happenings we've talked about on this show. There are some really strange photos out there, really strange videos out there of the Men in Black. Now, with these being said, they are just guys dressed in black. So could this be fake? Yes. Could it be a hoax? Yes. Could it be coincidence? Yes. But they are out there. There are legitimate, good quality videos, pictures, new digital pictures and old terrestrial photographs taken of what appears to be men dressed in black, lurking in the shadows, coming into places that, have had UFO activity. Black helicopters is another thing, too, that there isn't a ton to say about, but we should mention at this point in the discussion that a lot of people, when they see a UFO, afterwards, next day, several hours later, next day, next week, claim to see a strange black helicopter. Just lurking around where they normally wouldn't see such a thing. So that leads to the question. Adam jumped in on this idea that they don't always seem like regular people necessarily. They do, they have these strange features, if you will, and that raises the question, if the Men in Black exist, who are they? Who are these guys? Are they CIA looking around? Are they deep cover Air Force agents? Are they a different government organization that we don't know? Are they the Majestic 12 agents? Are they something else? Or are they aliens? Are they themselves aliens? Are they themselves time travelers? I like to link the time travel with the aliens thing, because if anyone listened to our aliens show, this theory, some people do believe that aliens aren't really from a different planet. They're maybe us from the future. Again, are they a separate agency altogether? Are they Illuminati type agents? Because I want to read you guys something. This is an official statement issued by the Air Force, actually.
Before you go on, Josh,
Sure,
there's some actual documented encounters where the Men in Black were actually wearing Air Force uniforms too.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm sorry. I hope I didn't. Steal anything from you, but
You're absolutely right. There isn't a ton of variation on who comes to visit, but there is variation slightly on how they look, and there is variation also on who they say they are.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't say. Sometimes they refuse to say. But sometimes they do say other things. So I'm going to read you this quote. This came from in 1967, by the way. This is not a new thing, but 1967, the U.S. Air Force acknowledges. The rest of this is a quote. Mysterious men dressed in Air Force uniforms or all in black and displaying impressive credentials from government agencies have been... I'm trying to read this and talking to the mic at the same time. Sorry. Have been cited... have been silencing UFO witnesses. We have checked a number of these cases, and these men are not connected to the U.S. Air Force in any way. We haven't been able to find out anything about these men. By posing as Air Force officials and government agents, they are committing a federal offense. We would sure like to catch one. Unfortunately, the trail is always too cold by the time we hear about these cases. But we are still trying. The U.S. Air Force made that statement. They actually issued that statement. Why would they do that? You know, this is 1967. Why would they do that?
That's the height. Conspiracy theorists. The 60s is one of. It seems like it's a high end era.
Right.
Time of the century.
To me, this is a legitimate Air Force. They're saying
what's funny
that they are conducting investigations on this.
And what's funny too, Josh, is usually the government's going to have no comment when it comes to something like that.
And typically, the government will have no comment after they're being forcibly pushed. They still have no comment. This is 1967. They're not even being pushed that hard. This is somebody within the Air Force. Maybe it just was somebody that wasn't high enough up and wasn't in the know. But this is somebody legitimately in the Air Force saying, yeah, we've heard about this. I'm telling you, it's not us. We are actually looking into it. That this is somebody above the Air Force, above whoever, going around claiming to be members of the U.S. Air Force, asking people questions. And they're claiming that they actually want to know. They want to know, who are these guys saying this? They're not saying, who are these guys saying this? Is this a hoax? They're actually saying, no, we have legitimate reports, and we're looking into it, and we'd really like to catch one. But we can't. That to me, it was probably, of all the information I have, that was very telling to me. Because, I don't know, maybe I'm overly patriotic. I don't trust my government. I do not trust my government, but I tend to trust men and women in the military. I do. Because I trust that men and women who join the military truly are patriots. For the most part. I know I'm a crazy libertarian, for me to be saying this, that's different, but
I think Ed just lost some respect for you.
But I'm not talking about the Joint Chiefs of Staff here.
You're talking about
I'm talking about men and women who signed up to join the military. I, for the most part, think they're I think they're good people.
I want to hear Ed's take on this.
Those people also are very unlikely to be in on any of this because they're not.
Which is what I'm saying.
Just, I guess my own take is that it very well could be part of the government. But if you were wanting to be seen as legitimate, going door to door, scaring people like that, wouldn't you want to associate with something that people would maybe recognize as legitimate? So, it wouldn't surprise me to see if there were reports of people, who looked like they may be from the Air Force or from the Army or from whatever branch, just so that way they have a very slight association. So that way when they answer the door, the person thinks, oh, military, this is serious business, and takes them very seriously.
And hey, by me saying that I kind of believe this Air Force report, by me saying that, that's not me saying, oh, it must be aliens. It must be the Illuminati. It might just be the CIA. If you were a top covert group working for the Army, wouldn't you maybe say, let's say we're Air Force? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you maybe say that? If you were a top person in Navy intelligence, wouldn't you say, who should we say we are instead of us?
Yeah. Like, you get caught.
Yeah, let's go with Air Force. Let's go with Air Force. then if we do get caught, if something does hit the fan, maybe it'll get directed towards them instead. Maybe they're FBI, maybe they're CIA.
And like I don't have to tell you guys that the government is big. I mean, there's
When that happened.
there's agency after agency after agency, and going back to the old Independence Day line,
Mm-hmm.
they don't spend $5,000 for a hammer, $10,000 for a toilet seat, do you?
Exactly.
And not every single member of government has to know every single thing that's going on.
And we do know that
And in some sense, there's plausible deniability. So
we do know that our agencies, which to me, in my personal opinion, this is a travesty. We do know that our many agencies don't share information with each other because they view each other as competing forces. We recently ran into that with this bombing in Britain when the Brits got awfully mad at us because they trusted us with some intel, and we leaked a bunch of it. We didn't actually do that to make the Brits mad. They probably did it because they're infighting amongst their other agencies. And the Brits, I don't blame them one bit, just said, we're not sharing intel with the U.S. anymore. I don't blame them. They don't have to share their intel with us anyway. There are some Americans who are mad about that. It's like, hey, they're a sovereign nation. If they don't want to share their intel with us, they don't have to, even if the reason's just like, F you, we don't want to share it with you. And that's okay, even in and of itself. But if they're sharing the intel with us and we're leaking it, we're spilling the beans, and I definitely don't blame them for not sharing their intel with us. But regardless, there's many cases of this where people at the CIA say they're from the FBI. People from the FBI say they're from the NSA. They do this. There's a different movie quote out there where it's obviously an FBI agent, a CIA agent. They're talking and they say, oh, I'm so-and-so from the FBI, and this is so-and-so from, and he jumps in and says, another agency. This is...
How would you even be able to verify that? It's not like,
You can't.
they could give you a badge number and you could just go bring it to your local police department and
Right.
say, hey, check this for me.
Right. And in many instances, when these people have supposedly met with men in black, they've refused to say where they're from, what agency they're from. They refuse to say their name. As a law enforcement agent, even if you're a top dog somewhere, as a law enforcement agent here in the United States of America, it's illegal to not tell who you are.
Or
To not
they'll
identify yourself.
show them a very generic, like, I have something up on the screen right now. Something like that right there.
Yeah.
Not pussy, not war, but security as...
They seem to like flash like a big like fancy badge that doesn't say anything more than security or top security or something along those lines.
Junior sheriff, something.
One, I want to talk. Oh, another thing with the facial features too, or going with the features. Another thing that's reported is extremely monotone voices.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, did you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not listening to me?
I guess not. Maybe you were speaking too monotone.
Maybe.
No, but very monotone voices, and like you did mention, Adam, or you mentioned that as well. It sounds like, sorry, but like you did mention that a lot of people feel like they can't lie to these people. Like there is, maybe it's just
the mind
nerves.
reading thing.
Yeah, maybe it's just nerves, but they feel that there's no lying to be had, if you will.
Did you get anything too about them like almost speaking in a different dialect too?
Yes. Like it's very broken down. It's not they don't necessarily have an accent, but they don't speak the same way we do. They're speaking English, but they're not speaking.
It's like some of the stuff I've heard that it's sometimes hard to understand them at some point. And I don't know.
Yeah. No, it does seem like there is a non-human, non-American, non-normal element to the way they speak.
So you're saying it's not normal to be American? You're not normal if you're
Well,
not
when
American?
you're in
Is that what you're
America-
saying?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, when you're in America and you talk to someone who claims to be from America and they don't sound American, that's not normal. If you are in Swahili and the person claimed to also be from Swahili, if they said, I'm high up in the Swahili government, and they sounded like they were from England.
Is Swahili a country?
I have no idea.
I think Swahili is a language.
Okay.
Is Mexico part of America? North America?
It's part of North America, yes.
So are Mexicans Americans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, technically.
Yeah.
They're,
North
they're
Americans.
Yeah, they're actually in most schools in South America, they actually teach that there's 6 continents. That's America is viewed as one continent. Just like what is it, the Valero gas company says, American owned because they're from Venezuela.
Yeah, technically true.
So what is it in North America? It's like, so is South America part of it? No, it's not.
Adam, in 5th grade, I got marked off on a test from Sister Charlotte Murray. I got marked off on a test because I described somebody as American, because I said that I was from America. I said, no, you're from. She said, no, you're from the United States of America. America is a continent, not a country.
It's still from it.
It's actually, if you really want to get specific on it, and there's a Canadian documentary I watched a little while ago that it's actually not quote unquote Americans who refer to the United States as America. That's actually a slang that's more developed by the Europeans and by others. It's because the Canadian-made documentary is talking about how people view America, and they said, we actually changed the name of this because we want to say how people view the United States, because that's what we call, because we call it the United States. People in the United States call it the United States. But people in Europe, people in Australia, they call it America. That's really actually comes about from other countries more so than our own nation. We typically say the United States. We say we're an American, though. Yeah. Because we are the only ones. The people in Peru are American. People in Brazil, they're American. But they don't refer to themselves as Americans. They refer to themselves as Brazilians. We come from the United States of America, so we call ourselves Americans. I mean, that's not that weird.
And it's still technically true. Just like you can be more than one thing. You're also a Michigander. You're also a Wayne Countyan.
Sure. Sure.
Detroiter.
Yeah, I mean, and to say you're an American citizen, well, somebody from Venezuela is not an American citizen. Somebody from Mexico is not an American citizen.
Well, unless you mean a citizen in America.
Well, no, but they're not a citizen of that, though, because that's not a sovereign nation. They're a Brazilian citizen. You can only be a citizen of one thing. They're a Brazilian citizen. They're a Mexican citizen. They're a Peruvian citizen. We're American citizens. Just simply, if nothing else, lack of a better term, because our country's got a silly name. Our country's not named after an ethnicity. It's named after a place and a purpose. But big digression there. That's all right, though.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's all right. That's good. That's fun. Okay. First known sighting of the Men in Black. Our first, one they talk about. We're going to talk about one that goes way, way back in a little bit that maybe has a strange anthropological significance, if you will. But first known sighting of what we call the Men in Black, 1947. 1947 is a big year for, this isn't directly related to Roswell, but the Roswell, New Mexico incident did happen in 1947. Big thing, but the Maury Island incident happens in 1947. There are 2 different sightings that take place in this. The one, I don't know if you guys have heard about this one, but Harold Dahl is at Maury Island, and he says that him and several other people saw 6 UFOs above this huge body of water, and that many people were frightened, many people witnessed it, and that then these UFOs seemed to dump a molten metal type substance into the water. So much so that this actually killed his dog and burnt his son. Pretty badly burnt his son.
So you lit the family on fire and then blamed it on UFOs.
Perhaps. So Harold Dahl tells this guy who seems to be a pretty bright dude. I think he's a scientist of some sort. Not Dahl, but Dahl tells this guy Crismond. Crismond goes back there the next day. And while there, he is claiming to be a skeptic at this point. He finds that, the story isn't quite right. It's not matching up from the other people, so I don't really believe this. But while there, he finds some strange type of rocks. They aren't really rocks, but he collects some of them up. He brings them back to Dahl, and then another UFO is sighted in this area. A couple days later, Dahl decides to return to this area. Goes back. A man dressed in black approaches him and asks him to go to breakfast with him to talk about the issue, talk about what happened. He goes. He goes to breakfast. And supposedly, while there, this man dressed in black reveals to him many of the details about what exactly was going down. Yes, these were UFOs. He then threatens him and tells him he needs to not talk about this. Dahl and Crismond go on to not talk about this for several more years. I'll not talk about it at length till they then decide to call a publication and talk about this incident. They still have the rocks. 2 Air Force agents come to talk with them. Actually, it may have been in 1 Air Force, 1 Army. I'm not certain of that. But they come. They talk to them. They are given some photographs that Dahl took, which he acknowledged were not great. Which is why Crismond was a skeptic, because Dahl showed him the initial photographs and he said, there's not much here. It's some dots in the sky. They're crappy quality photographs. But these two, this is the part, by the way, that is pretty verified. These 2 government agents, military men, take the photos, take the rocks. They get on a plane, start heading back home. Plane crashes. They both die. Crismond and Dahl later brought in for questioning. The Air Force and the Army both investigate this heavily. They come to the conclusion that it was all a hoax and threaten to levy charges against Dahl and Crismond. But Dahl and Crismond then say, they back off on the claims and they're not heavily charged with anything. But the part that is verified of this is these 2 men met with Dahl and Crismond, got on a plane, and that plane crashed. And there were no survivors.
So who are the 2 men that died on the plane crash then?
The government officials. I do not know their names. Dahl and Crismond were the witnesses. I think...
Were the guys on the plane...
I want to say Dahl died in the early 2000s.
Were the guys on the plane suspected men in black?
No.
No. Okay.
But they were visited by a member, by...
So government officials then were visited by men in black?
No, government officials were later killed.
Okay.
With the only physical evidence after the witnesses were visited by men in black.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was following right.
Yeah, no, it's this was largely kind of then just written off after this. Don't know if there's what there is to this. Another story that people may or may not have heard. Somebody else that we've mentioned, at least indirectly, and different Deep Issues casts, Dan Aykroyd, star of Ghostbusters, comedian, actor, writer, guy who doesn't exactly seem crazy, and also isn't just some loon who has nothing to lose. Dan Aykroyd, last estimated, was worth $135 million. So, successful cat. This isn't just some guy who would looking to get his name in the press.
He's one of the biggest actors in American film history.
Right, and a big writer and producer and
Yeah.
everything else. So Dan Aykroyd, I didn't know this until recently, had signed a deal. He is a big UFO enthusiast. Big into this. One of his parents was a mystic, actually. I mean, he's always been very into this, hence the Ghostbusters thing and everything else. He's very into the supernatural, but also
My Girl, I know.
extremely big into UFOs and UFO enthusiasm. You're hilarious. But he was signed on with the Sci-Fi Channel in the early 2000s to do a show called, what was that show called? It's on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember it now. It was called Out There, was the name of the show. He had done a lot of work on this show. He had actually interviewed some top scientists, some top, ufologists, if I'm saying that right. Ufologists, scientists. He interviewed a lot of people. They taped 8 episodes of this show. He was about to have on, he had in studio that day, or they're coming into studio or whatever, he was going to have some people. Some big names. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that. I guess I should. But he was going to have some big UFO enthusiasts, some big UFO proponents on his show that day. They were taping it, not a live show. He goes out for a cigarette. While he's going out for a cigarette, this is in New York City. While he's out there, he gets a phone call. Takes a phone outside, talking, smoking a cigarette. It's Britney Spears, actually. So he says, called him on the phone. And at the time, Britney Spears called him and said, "Hey, I'm going to be on Saturday Night Live. Would you be on for a minute?" He said, "Yeah, sure, I'll be on. That's cool. Love going back to Saturday Night Live." He says he looks over to the side and sees a black Ford. Out of the back seat of the car, a man stands up, gets out of the car, dressed in black, very tall, looks at him, kind of gives him the old stink eye. He says he kind of does a double take, looks away, turns around, looks back, car is gone. Says it vanished. It's completely vanished. He said, this is impossible. He said, he's saying, "Hey, maybe I'm crazy," but he goes, "I saw it." He goes, "I didn't see it turn the corner. I didn't see it drive away. I saw it and it vanished. This guy looked at me. They were gone. The car, the guy, everything is gone." He goes back inside after his cigarette, goes to start working on the show again. A couple hours later, he's notified that the show is being canceled. It's not going to air, ever. The other episodes he has done, those 8 episodes that he did tape, are never going to be aired. He says he has the tapes and he's trying to do something with a release. They weren't going to release them on DVD. The episodes were not being released. And the show was completely canceled. Boom, right there, then and there. Again, Dan Aykroyd, why would he make this up? Maybe he would. Maybe he just wants to make it up. Maybe he's crazy. I don't know. But why would someone in his position feel the need to make that up? If he's wants to be in the press, he can make a movie. he can do what he wants and get a lot more press than this.
He doesn't need the podium.
Right. If he wanted to just be back in the spotlight, he could rejoin the cast of SNL. He can make a stand-up routine. He can do what he wants. But he claims that he saw these guys. They disappeared. And then shortly afterwards, his UFO show was completely canceled. This is a show on the Sci-Fi Channel being backed by Dan Aykroyd. Even if the show sucked, why would you... you wouldn't want to cancel that show. You wouldn't want to push it back. This is Sci-Fi Channel in 2003, by the way.
Look, if Dan Aykroyd is part of a show on the Sci-Fi Channel, they're
You're gonna want
usually going to give it more than
And you filmed what? You said 8 episodes already too.
Yeah, 8
wouldn't
episodes.
you release what you have to make your money back?
Yeah, good point.
Or try to sell it on DVD for the Dan Aykroyd fans, who would just eat it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to make your money back on DVD sales, especially back then. Now I know DVD sales aren't as big a deal.
If it's not streaming, it's nothing.
Right. But again, we're talking early 2000s here, early to mid 2000s. So I was pretty impressed by that story.
Look,
honestly.
that's a very, very notable instance just because of who it involves. I mean, like you're saying, it's Dan Aykroyd. It's not some some crazy person from Texas or New Mexico or Arizona or something like that, just looking for his 15 minutes.
Right.
Dan Aykroyd doesn't need 15 minutes, so.
No, he doesn't. He's had his 15 minutes and then some.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
can have more tomorrow if he wants.
Maybe there's a Coneheads connection here too.
Yeah, he could make Ghostbusters 3 if he wanted to anytime. Well, actually, he tried to do that and failed, but we all know that
it was made, wasn't it? It's kind of, sort of.
Yeah, they claim that the video game was Ghostbusters 3.
The female one that came out.
Oh no, not that
But
piece of garbage.
Nobody liked except for like feminist reviewers.
Right. No, yeah. Don't get me
Hey,
started.
I'm as liberal as they come, and I thought that movie was awful.
I thought it was the worst movie ever, and I admittedly didn't see it.
I didn't see it either, but it looked pretty horrible.
It looked ridiculous. But
I saw it. It's not good.
actually, truth be told, though, Dan Aykroyd could have made Ghostbusters 3 many times throughout then, but he could never nail down Bill Murray and what's his name, Egon. He could never nail them down, so he didn't want to do it without them. But he could have. They were in talks with making a Ghostbusters 3 with Chris Farley, actually, before he died. But if Dan Aykroyd wanted to make a piece of crap Ghostbusters 3...
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, it would have been awesome. No, and basically, I think Dan Aykroyd is saying, hey, if I can make Ghostbusters 3, I'd rather have Bill Murray, but if I can make it with Ray, Winston, and... the new Ghostbuster who happens to be played by Chris Farley. Like, I'll do that.
That would have been too bad.
You know what? I think we've mentioned this before. Not the rag on an all-female cast, but what they could have done is done an all-female cast and have like Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray or something like that be like
would have been better.
Or they could have just come up with an original idea and not done it.
Right.
And you can have plenty of movies.
No, I mean,
with
and there's there's comic books written where they have like the new Ghostbusters where it like Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd's character, is like running this team of new I think one of them's a chick. And that's like a thing.
Maybe the next one should be the original living cast members, but they get gender change operations, then they're female, and that'll be even better.
Or they just look exactly the same, but they say they're female because
they identify.
They identify.
Yeah.
Well,
they can schedule the surgery.
Right.
Well, look what happened in Men in Black. At the end of the first one, the girl becomes part of the team. Is she part of the team in the second one?
No. They barely write it off in the second movie, as I recall, that he didn't want to do this to her, so they erased her memory, and then they bring Tommy Lee Jones back.
Yes, didn't they erase his memory at the end of the first one?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Here's your memory back.
I believe that's the whole plot of the second Men in Black is they find the machine, the prototype machine that brings back the memories, and they run Tommy Lee Jones through because he's the only one that knows certain aspects of it all.
The movie made a lot of money, and they're like, oh, maybe we should have left it a little more open.
Exactly. It's like, oh crap, we can make a sequel to this. We need to have both of them now. Figure out something. You got 24 hours. Figure out some way.
All right, there's this machine that brings memory back.
Sounds great. Love it. Make it so. Write the screenplay. You got 36 hours now. Yeah, I mean, and I know we're jumping around like crazy here with this whole idea, but this does go along with, we talked about alien government conspiracies, things like this, and the question we raised last time is, if aliens exist, if the government knows about it, why don't they tell us? Why don't they say, yeah, aliens are here, we're talking with them?
It's something I thought, another Hollywood movie that maybe actually has a more legitimate portrayal of Men in Black without calling them that is The Matrix. And just look at Agent Smith and all the agents and how essentially they're the keepers of the system, of anybody who kind of finds out this information, not UFOs in this case, but the fact that they're living in a machine, they silence them. They follow them. They listen in on them. They
Kill them if necessary.
Exactly. That's kind of, and they have a lot of the features that, monotone voice, tall, in the black suit. That's kind of
Pale skin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody's out searching, scouring the dark web to find the answers to this, and the only reason Neo isn't, destroyed by them or taken in by them is that, Morpheus gets to him first. Is the idea. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's and that is kind of this question, is that, who are the men in black? If they exist. We're going off this idea that some of these instances are legit. You guys have seen the picture, right? The famous picture from England of the guy taking a picture of the little girl, and there's the spaceman behind her.
Yes. The one falling from the sky.
Yeah, he's behind her. It's the Solway 5th spaceman from Cumberland, England. Seen, many, many times. It's taken back in May of 1964. This picture is all over the web. This is everywhere. The picture of the little girl, and the guy says he just took a picture of his daughter, and then when he got the film developed,
this one, Josh?
That's the one. That there's this, appears to be this spaceman behind them. Keep in mind, this was 1964. This is before digital photography. This is before Photoshop. This is before all that stuff. It'd be so easy to Photoshop that picture. This picture was sent back to Kodak at the time. Kodak put out a reward. They said that this picture is legit. It has not been tampered with. This is an absolute real photograph, and they offered a reward to anyone who could explain it, who could explain why this happened.
Thing
who
is,
this dude is.
The photo isn't tampered with, but is the scene tampered with?
Sure. No, for sure. But still, that's a pretty strange looking thing on the
It is strange. It is absolutely strange. But I could take a picture with some strange looking stuff in it.
But anyway, Kodak says that the picture is legit, and that reward to this day has never gone claimed. No one has ever, been able to claim any sort of that reward. So keep in mind, if there was some dude in a spacesuit, in a fake spacesuit, behind the girl, he could have claimed the reward. But there's a part of that story. This picture is all over the internet. Has been for years. There's another part to this story, though. Jim Templeton is the man that took that photograph.
Mm-hmm.
That is his daughter in the picture. Jim Templeton says that he was visited by two men dressed in black.
After the picture was taken?
After the picture was taken. He is a firefighter in England, and he said that two men claiming to be official members of the government, British government in this particular case, came to him and asked for him to take them to the site. He got in the vehicle with them. They drove there. He said that he had to give them explicit directions in a not that difficult path to get there. So he said that led him to believe, even before he's thinking, what's this all about? He was under the impression that these guys weren't from around here because they had no idea how to get there. So he directed them there. He took them there. He said that at first they asked him a bunch of questions. He wanted them to tell him everything about the scene. He wouldn't, he told them everything. He said at first they were compliant, and then they basically started calling him a liar. Told him, no, that's not what happened. He said they got a little bit angry. They said that, no, it's a hoax, nothing happened here. Got in the car and left him there. eventually, obviously, he made his way home. But, that's a bummer before cell phones and stuff, Later, he went back to that site, took some more pictures, went to get them developed. He went back to pick up his film. There's a note on it that said, this film could not be developed. They gave him his money back. Tried it again. Same thing happened.
Did they say why it couldn't be developed?
No, just couldn't be developed. Tried it again. This time gave a different name. They developed the photos. He actually admitted, nothing weird this time. But when he gave a different name, all of a sudden the photos could get developed. This is a very early instance. He didn't come back as an old man in 1995 and say, this happened. This was heavily documented back then, that this is what he said happened to him. This is, you have a lot of these instances of people being visited by men in black before it was a thing to say, oh, yes, a man in black came and talked to me. This was, and strangely enough, although this picture is all over the internet, this very well documented instance of this guy telling this story dating back to the 1960s is rarely told with this story of this picture. Like I said, the picture's all over the place. There's later some people that try to debunk the picture and try to just insert a picture of his wife and say, oh no, the exposure is just bad. And it's actually just his wife standing back there. And he didn't know that his wife was there. His wife walked into the picture right then.
And she was holding a spaceman doll or something.
There is a picture where they kind of insert a picture of his wife.
Oh, okay, I see.
And
how that's his wife, the back of his wife, but it
Yeah,
turns out really white, so it looks like a spaceman, and that the visor is actually her hair.
Yeah,
the top of her head is a little lighter.
Right. That has come out, I think, just in recent years that they kind of. But you have to doctor the photo to show that the photo's doctored, in essence. So that, we can't be certain, but definitely a strange instance. And this picture's been floating around for decades. And Kodak bought it. They did. Kodak bought it hook, line, and sinker. And they analyzed it then and said, no, there isn't an exposure problem. There isn't a... Nothing's being doctored. There was no legitimate explanation for this. I'm pretty sure Kodak would have said, yeah, I think it's just somebody with a... I think it's just the sun hitting it just right and the picture being blurry. But they didn't. They didn't say that then or now, for that matter. Yeah, I don't know. This picture is, like I said, it's out there everywhere. This is always one of the pictures that's shown in, Google weird alien pictures or strange extraterrestrial pictures. This is, go to YouTube and put the 5 strangest photos ever taken. I guarantee this will be one of them.
And the guy claims that the spaceman wasn't behind the girl.
No, he just was taking a picture of his daughter. He did not notice it until the film was developed later.
So
he noticed nothing strange about this instance at all.
It seems like
He's
more
just
of
taking a picture of his daughter.
It seems like more of a ghost story than anything else.
Yeah,
Sure.
Is that the implication because he took 4 more pictures and couldn't get them developed? Is that there were some sort of technology where maybe these were aliens that had spacesuits so they could survive on our planet and they were somewhat invisible, but they showed up when you took a picture because of a flash or something?
I think his idea is that that was crap. That the film couldn't be exposed. That he gave his name and that somebody else told them, you have to destroy.
But that's the Men in Black came and said, "Hey, you can't develop this guy's pictures because if he's going back to this field and taking these pictures again, they might be exposing more of these spacemen."
Yes, I think that is his claim. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and later, like you said, later he admitted that he did put the photos under a different name, and nothing crazy, but it wasn't until he went to the drugstore, wherever you took your photos to be developed in 1960s England. I have no idea, but that he took them to the drugstore or whatever, and then when he gave a different name, all of a sudden now they could develop his photos.
Is there a picture of his wife at all? Because it seems like that would be really easy to
verify that.
Yeah, like if his wife didn't have a dress like that and didn't look like that from behind, that's easily disproven.
His wife was there.
What's his name?
Jim Templeton. His wife was there, and she says, "No, I was not in the picture." And he says, "No, my wife was behind me."
Well, I think what they're saying is this probably is impossible for a lot of the listeners out there. But when you used to have that old film camera, if it didn't quite pull the piece of film properly, you could have an overexposure on one. So you could take that could have been a previous or the next photo of him taking a picture of his wife from behind somewhere else, and it's showing up on that picture.
Absolutely.
Sort of thing.
According to Kodak, that's not what happened. Because Kodak looked at the entire roll of film, the negatives, everything, and Kodak says that no, that's not what happened. But yes, you are right. That could happen. And I know a lot of people listening, especially if you're younger, pictures to you are digital.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that long ago that you developed pictures, and weird stuff did come through. But usually you could decipher that by looking at the negatives.
The thing is,
the negatives usually told the truth.
Also,
which is why they always gave you the negatives. I don't know. For those of you who don't remember, when you used to go develop your film, they gave you back your film, and then they gave you the negatives.
In case you wanted to get more developed.
Yeah, and you could develop them later, or you could do something with them. Maybe you do it on your own, because some people used to develop their own film, but they would give you back the negatives as well. And it used to be a thing where you could, I remember back in the day, it was always, you took it in and you had your choice. You can get, we'll print them, they always gave you the negatives, but we'll either print them for you twice, or we'll print them for you the first time and give you a free roll of film. That was always a thing back then.
They had promos where you get both. You get doubles and the free roll of film.
Doubles and the free roll of film. Oh my god! And that was the thing back then.
The thing with this too is, I think you've got to ask. You have to ask why. Was Jim Templeton's? Was he actually out here trying to film an alien? And if he was, or have some type of hoax like this.
Sure.
And if he was, why would he put his wife in there? Why wouldn't he just make a spaceman suit and put it behind his daughter?
Right.
And when you're looking at this photo too,
keep in mind too, spaceman suit. We all look at that and instantly think spaceman suit. But keep in mind, this is 1964 in the countryside of England. Did spacesuits exist? Yes, they did. But this is before the U.S. lands on the moon. This is before a lot of these things. The UK doesn't have a space program at this point
there's
at all.
There's plenty of fiction of going to the moon or outer space before that.
Sure, there is. No, you're absolutely right.
Well, the thing is
but it's like spacesuit was now. Spacesuit is like, it's so obvious to us, a spacesuit. But
also, if you want to really analyze this photo, look at the angles too. Ed, you're a math guy. Look at the angle of the hill, and then look at the angle of the supposed spaceman here. Well, the angle does. Who walks like that?
Well, and only that, but I would imagine that if, say, he was tall enough that he was on the ground or not floating or something. It seems like he'd be like giant or something. Like
the perspective is very weird. Yes.
No, and it is a lot of things that I look at when I'm trying to analyze whether or not I think something's a hoax. And this is, sure, my own bias is pointing through here. I'm not claiming that I'm the authority here on how to handle what is a hoax, but a lot of times when I look at something and think, is this a hoax? I think, if I was going to do the hoax, it'd be better than that. You know what I mean? It would be a better picture than that. If I was going to take a picture and then claim, I took this picture and there's a spaceman, I think I would do a better job of it than that. I think it would look cooler.
Well,
But
again,
he
though,
didn't do that.
we're dealing
You
with
know?
1960s countryside of England. I don't think it's this guy's wife. I don't see the cause behind that. Oh, let's take a picture of my daughter holding flowers with my wife in the background. I mean, to me that just doesn't make sense. Even if he was trying to hoax it, you wouldn't put your wife back there.
He's trying to get the countryside.
You
That's
would.
what he's taking a picture of.
Well, like I said, if you're trying to develop a hoax around it, I think you would make your own spaceman suit and put it behind your daughter.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more or less what he would do. I just don't buy the lady. I just don't buy the wife walking away. That's not something, because to me this is a staged photo. I'm not saying the spaceman is necessarily staged, but his daughter, she's holding flowers.
It's a posed picture.
Yeah, she's looking at the camera. She's she's wearing a dress. You get a lot of the background behind her. It's odd. What else is odd about this photo too is are these birds here? And I don't really know what to make of this, but look at how.
Yeah, I see that.
Another one you were.
Yeah, look at how.
Showed some writing on it, like it was supposed to be like a description of what it was or something.
Oh, I think was it this one right here?
Yeah, that.
I don't think they were talking about the birds. I think that they were talking about.
I didn't even notice there was something there until I saw that you had that up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different things here on this one website. But there's the mother in frame there. And she is wearing a blue dress. It looks like a blue dress, which they're saying could be,
Sure. Another thing, too, and you were talking about, old photos, Ed, is that when you took old photos back then, a lot of times, yeah, the color would be off or something like that, but the color's not off anywhere else in the picture. Or the color of her dress, the color of the flowers, it's all coming through just fine. It's a very clear photograph.
Well, the thing about that is you're focusing on the girl.
Mm-hmm.
So when you set your focus to the girl, I'm sure there was an automatic focus on this camera. I'm sure it was all manual, but when you're focusing in on the girl, that's going to because you notice it on the picture here. Everything around her is blurry, especially in the background here.
But the grass is still green.
The grass is still green, yes.
The sky is still blue.
Yes.
Everything looks like it should look.
But it depends on where the sun was coming from also. If you're looking at direct sunlight onto it, a blue dress could very well start to look more white based on the reflection of it. If she was wearing a black dress, it would be very, very apparent she's wearing a black dress, because the black isn't going to reflect the light. But since it is, if anything, if it is the mom and she is wearing a light blue dress, it does look like she is wearing in that other photo, a light blue dress is probably going to reflect more light than a darker dress would.
Good point. And hey, listen, if you're, I'm sure Adam will probably put this picture up on the site. But if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, or if you're listening to this later, on download, look this picture up. It's everywhere. The Solway Fifth Spaceman, the Cumberland photo, the Jim Templeton photo. Google any one of those things, and this is going to pop up. This picture's everywhere, and there's YouTube videos about it, and this is not something you have to scour the web to find. It's out there. You do kind of have to scour the web to find them talking about his supposed encounters with the Men in Black afterwards, though. This is not something that is brought up.
Yeah, I've heard this. I've heard of this picture before, and I've never once. Oh, what happened then?
No, my battery died. I have to plug it.
Oh.
Are the Men in Black interfering with our signal?
Yeah, what?
Yep. They prematurely killed my battery.
I think we're getting some. Are we getting feedback from the computer?
Perhaps. Are we getting feedback from something? You hearing that? Oh, you don't have headphones on. We're getting big time feedback. Is that from?
I don't know what that. Yeah, I don't know what that's from.
Might be my power cord.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we're being shut down finally. Maybe the Illuminati.
Oh, that's my power cord.
Oh, it's just fine.
Okay, hold on. Ed, where are you plugged into it?
It's the extension cord here.
Okay, let's see. I'll see if I can hook you up to another one. Go ahead, keep talking.
Okay, yeah. But we do think that was technical difficulties on our end. We don't think that it was
No,
the Illuminati.
It was technical difficulties.
It wasn't the Illuminati or the Men in Black messing with our signal.
Such a pessimist, Adam.
Although we all did get a little bit scared right there. There are more instances of this out there. Another guy, Albert K. Bender. This guy he's a former Air Force member. U.S. Air Force. He had, still feedback, guys. He had written some books on this. Like I said, former member of the Air Force. He was the editor of the Space Review, which is a publication at the time. He had developed a little, still feedback.
Still feedback?
Still feedback. He had developed a bureau, basically, an independent bureau of people looking into space phenomenon. He also claims, and again, this is a guy who's big into this stuff, but he claims that he was visited by Men in Black, and they told him to cut it out.
Sorry.
I think we might just have to go Ed computerless.
Yeah, that's fine.
But Ed, you could. You're better with computers than me. If you need my computer, you can feel free to snatch it up. But but this guy, Albert K. Bender, he claims he was visited by Men in Black.
Uh-huh.
He claims that they told him to cease and desist these activities. He did for many years. He also said that he kept getting phone calls, and that when he would answer the phone, nobody was on the other line, but he felt like somebody was there, like somebody was listening. He then reported to his doctor that he would have intense headaches for years after this. He wrote a second book years later. And this book is one of the first instances where people start saying maybe the Men in Black are aliens because of some of the weird reports on how he's talking about Men in Black from himself and from others. But the thing that is most telling to me anyway, and to others as well, is that his first book sounds very intelligent. It's a very well-written book. And his second book, where he does reveal some of these things that people took, the second book is damn near unintelligible. It barely makes sense, to be honest with you. I haven't read the book, but the reports are that the second book doesn't make much sense. It's very poorly written. And many think that his mind was tampered with. He wasn't all there anymore because of some sort of telepathic or some sort of interference, some sort of mental interference was put into his head. And that he was trying real hard to be the guy he used to be, but that it just wasn't there anymore. And like I said, he reported intense headaches that he just couldn't get past. And he wasn't heard from for many years in between these two. Because he says that he was contacted by some men dressed in black suits who, kind of screwed with him a little bit. Again, maybe the guy just got old. Maybe he's senile. Who knows? It could be a lot of things. But one of the main things that people take from his book is like, what happened to this guy? The second book is nearly unintelligible, and we know this whether you agree with it or not, whether it was a hoax or not. We know he was an intelligent man. He was an intelligent, successful man. Started a publication, started an entire bureau dedicated to UFO research. Former member of the Air Force. Smart dude, who then all of a sudden just couldn't seem to put a sentence together. These things are, a lot of reports like this. This stuff is strange to me, and I I don't know what it is. By the way, this jumps into, I'm jumping back to the Jim Templeton thing here. Because we got a little sidetracked with our technical difficulties. But Jim Templeton said that when he was confronted with the men in black who drove him, he asked for their names, and this is hinted upon in the Will Smith movie, actually. They wouldn't say what organization they were from. Just that they're from the government. And their names given were, the two agents said that their names were number 9 and number 10. Those were the only names they would give them. We're from a government agency. I'm number 9. He's number 10. That's it. I mean, and you get these same reports of, I definitely no facial hair. If hair seems to be present at all, it seems to be fake or close to absent. Maybe they're looks like they got a little bit of fuzz underneath the hat or something. But nothing really. And these instances are they're all over the place.
Well, yeah, I think that you asked a couple of questions earlier, Josh, and I think before we cut out tonight, I think maybe it's important that we try to answer them for ourselves. And you asked earlier, why would this agency, if you want to call it an agency or group or whatever, why would they, or the government for that matter, why would they want to keep aliens under wraps? Why would they want to, why wouldn't they want the public to know about it? And we talked, and one of my favorite deep issues was the Kennedy assassination.
Yes.
And the conspiracy behind that was Kennedy was about to blow the lid on UFOs and what the government knew about it. And in doing
10
so,
days before he wrote to NASA.
Yep. And
Not something widely reported, but it is factual. He did write to NASA 10 days before the assassination, wondering about aliens.
yeah, and obviously, the conspiracy is the government silenced him. The government killed him and got a patsy on Lee Harvey Oswald and wanted to go from there with it. And, go back and listen to that episode of ours, listen to what we talk about, go back and watch the YouTube video of the exact shooting and just just how odd it is. And I don't want to go too into it, but when the shots first ring out, this car is still driving at a normal speed.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, when his head is blown off, then the car starts speeding away. Why wouldn't the car start speeding away when that first shot is heard? Or that first instance where, Kennedy gets shot in the neck. But anyways, why would the government not want the public to know about aliens? I mean, what would the public response to this be? Will the public, I don't know. What will it cause a mass hysteria? Is the government really going to take that chance?
Mm-hmm. And that seems to be the excuse or the explanation given a lot, is the government's trying to protect us because they feel that we'll flip out, that the people can't handle it. I don't particularly buy that, but that seems to be what many think.
I don't think, maybe that would have been true at one point, but I don't think it definitely isn't true anymore. I mean, look at how many movies have been made about alien encounters. I think at least part of the reason is to desensitize us to it to a certain extent. I mean, if the government came out tomorrow and announced that we've had contact with aliens, would you go nuts? I mean, would you go crazy? Would it surprise you?
No, it'd be a sense of relief, perhaps, to me and to many. The idea that, maybe that explains a few things.
To me, it'd be like, wow, holy shit, it's actually real.
And I mean,
so you'd believe them?
That they had contact with aliens? Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Hey, Ed, you remember when we did the alien show? I mean, the three of us and Nick.
Mm-hmm.
When, back in the good old days when Nick was on the show. Still, we broke that down, and at the end of the show, we said, who who believes in this the most? Who believes in the government hiding this? And it was you who were the top of the list. Adam was right behind you, then me, then Nick. I mean, but not a single one of us knocked it down completely.
What I was more so getting at is if the government came out and said there's aliens, I'd be skeptical of that because of them coming out and saying
Right.
that.
You all of a sudden would doubt it just because now
Wait a second.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that aliens would exist still. I would question the motives of how are they trying to manipulate us.
Well, and Adam, I know you were kind of thinking that it was off topic with the bringing up the JFK assassination, but I actually have a big link to that.
Mm-hmm.
And just simply with the one man, and that's William Cooper. William Cooper was basically the person who really came out with this JFK assassination idea, that the driver did it. The tape we watched, it was Cooper that released this, that blew the whistle on this years ago. And William Cooper talked at length about the Men in Black. And one of the first times we really hear about it is from John Lear, who wrote the paper, the Lear Hypothesis, who he really breaks down a lot of this MJ-12 stuff, Men in Black, gray aliens, these things. And it was William Cooper who, after the release of the Lear Hypothesis, came out and said that he, through his dealings and his work in the Air Force, in the military, that his quote was that he could confirm 150% of the Lear Hypothesis. That there was nothing in it that he wouldn't completely back up and confirm. There's talk about this for a long time. And like I said, before the silly Men in Black movie, this was a bigger conspiracy. This was something that was talked about a lot with Area 51, with the gray aliens, with MJ-12, mentioned a lot among people who said that they saw UFOs. There was, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it was very common when more than one person claimed to witness a UFO that there would be reports of Men in Black showing up, and more so than that, black helicopters. Black helicopters, black vehicles, they're typically reported to be driving in all black cars that look brand new, that look like they're very clean, very fresh, right off the showroom floor, but they're not new cars. Kind of like gangster-looking type cars. That kind of stigma you'd have from the old, gangster movies from the 60s and 70s. That type of car, but look to be brand new. So, I don't know. Is there something to this? Now, are there Men in Black visiting people? And if they are, who are they? Is it just a deep cover government organization? Is it just the Air Force or the CIA or the FBI or the NSA, and they're just above these people who have reported that, no, we don't know who they are? Is it government cover-up? Is it plausible deniability? Or is it something more? Is this an agency above our government? Is it the Illuminati? Is it a group of people who really knows the truth, more so than our own government? Or is it a step above that? Are these extra-worldly people? Are these aliens? Are they time travelers? Are they extra-dimensional beings? Remember the clip you played, Adam, from the radio talk show host?
Mm-hmm.
The show was cut out.
Yep.
When the guy calls in, remember what he's saying on
He was an Area 51 worker.
Yep, he said he was an Area 51 worker when this is cut out, and he's saying that, no, you're getting it wrong. They're not aliens like they flew here from a spaceship. They're aliens, and as in these are extraterrestrial beings. They're from a different plane of existence. They're from a different dimension coming here. They're not like E.T.
So they found there's a wormhole.
Right, they're coming from a different dimension here. and that brings in, are they coming from the future? Are they coming from the past? Are they coming from a different dimension? Are they coming from Pluto? Are they, we don't know. We don't know where these aliens, if they are in fact aliens, come from. Instances of radio talk show hosts as well who have talked about this. There are also many instances where people have seen a UFO and then they have instantly claimed and filed police reports in many instances that their house was broken into. They know that, they come home and the lock's broken or stuff's moving around. Nothing's stolen. But things are gone. Things are missing. They just know that somebody's been in their house.
And in some instances, too, these reports that have indicated that their house wasn't trashed. It's just you can tell that somebody was there.
Somebody
looking
came
stuff.
in and they moved stuff around.
Yeah.
They're, the drawers on your desk have been opened. Stuff has been moved. Mail has been moved. Things have been looked through. And this is, not signs of a robbery, but signs of somebody snooping around, somebody being in there. A lot of instances where people have talked about this and they say, and paranoid perhaps. But again, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean somebody's not following you. This is, this idea that people are watching you, people are there, people are following you around.
One other weird, because I caught the tail end of this story, Josh. I know we're starting to run out of time tonight, but there's this UFO research. I believe he was a researcher. I was throughout the show, I was trying to find the link to it, but I couldn't find the direct link to it, and all I could find was this 50-minute YouTube video of a bunch of these news reports and everything kind of spliced together.
Okay.
But it was a UFO researcher, and I think he believes that he was visited by Men in Black type of guys. Except that in this instance, they weren't masquerading as Air Force employees. Not to say that they're masked, because Men in Black could be part of the Air Force,
right?
But it was weird. They were, and this might kind of relate to you, Josh, because of your day job. They were they did siding. They did aluminum siding.
Okay.
And they said that they were brought on by their landlord. They were contracted by the landlord of the place he was living in to put up this aluminum siding. And like I said, let me go ahead and I will tell you that the documentary, you can go ahead and find it on YouTube. And where is it here? It's like a 50-minute documentary. And I'm saying, and I'm using I'm saying documentary very, very loosely because it was a bunch of stuff spliced together. But he was asking them for samples of this aluminum siding, if he could have a piece of this aluminum siding, and they wouldn't give him anything. They said they needed every piece of aluminum siding just to prove to the landlord that this is what they did. They were here to do this, and so on and so forth. But being a UFO researcher, I guess he had like cameras and everything around his property. I think he may have filmed one using like almost a webcam outside of his on the house that he was renting, and they were going and messing around with this and setting it on the ground, and he didn't know if they were trying to destroy it or anything like that. But he said they wouldn't directly look at him in the eye. They were very, very, acting very, very strange. And the name of the company was Bob Siding, which is a very, very generic type of name for, an aluminum siding company. And when they left, he contacted his landlord. So the landlord said that he never contracted any aluminum siding guys, and he tried to call this place. They didn't exist. And I'm trying to find. I had a link before the show. I had a link earlier to it, but I can't find it anymore. So maybe they're onto us right now. But I will find the YouTube video for it.
There's been other instances as well. And something I want to stress here, I'm not going to break down and tell the story of, there's dozens and dozens of stories out there on the web or on writing of people making these claims, but it's not all lunatics, all right? And I'm not trying to discount anyone, but these claims don't all come from some hillbilly living on a farm in New Mexico. Not that I have any issue with hillbillies living on farms in New Mexico. I really don't, but they're not all from that. The Juilliard professor has claimed to have a run-in with the Men in Black while he was in a library.
And undoubtedly, a large number of these could even be hoaxes, but are you going to say that every single last case,
Right.
Many of which people have absolutely nothing to gain?
And Ed, I know if people listen to this show, this part of me sounds like a broken record, but like I've said many, many times in the past, especially when it comes to the alien thing. I said this on the Alien Show, I've said it on other shows. Said it on when we've talked about the Mandela effect, other things like this. If one of these is true, then it's true. And I feel like that's a very simple fact that a lot of people like to leave out. That if 99% of alien abductions are false, if 99% of run-ins with the Men in Black are false, if they're brought about because the people saying it are crazy, they're liars, it's a hoax, they're simply mistaken. Any one of those things. If 99% of them are wrong, but 1% of them are right, if 1% of them are right, then the Men in Black exist. If 1% of alien abductions really were an alien abduction, then guess what? Then alien abductions are real. Then the Men in Black are real.
Hey, Josh, I found the clip. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll start reading because they actually
Begin with words.
Yeah. September 5th, 2003, hold on a second. Stan Romanek claims that a UFO buzzed a duplex that he was renting with his wife in Denver, Colorado. And the next day, he discovered strange marks on the side of his house. And on October 8th, 2003, Stan woke to find a strange crew of men working on his house. Which I'm sure people called you strange before, right?
Never.
They wouldn't look at me. They wouldn't look me in the eye. I decided to get my camera. They told me they were there. The landlord wanted them to replace all the siding, and they were there to replace the siding. They took my camera down. They had it nicely set on the ground, which kind of upset me because that was a more expensive surveillance camera. And here's me talking to them.
Suddenly, people showed up to do siding of the house. They said they're from the landlord. I can't get a hold of my landlord to verify it, but in any case, I think it's rather unusual that suddenly they come do the siding. So I'm going to videotape them doing the siding and try to get them to tell me what day it is.
I had the camera hidden, and I got them to tell me what date it was. So this was the day after the experience. And right in between those windows, you see him right where he is, right above him is where this camera was. It says Bob sighting from Grand Island, Nebraska. That's what it said on the wall.
Hey, what's today's date? 8th of October?
Never look at me, not once. I tried to get in front of them to make them look at me, and they turn away. Kept his head down. Well, all of a sudden, I went in, I grabbed a piece of siding. I asked them if I could take some of the siding because they had siding laying all over the ground. They said, absolutely not. You can't take one piece because we have to prove to your landlord that we did all the siding. I was like, okay, I knew something was up there. While they weren't looking, I grabbed one of the most important pieces where the camera was, took it off. There's nothing he was going to do about it. about it. Anyhow, he could do about it. He didn't see me. Called the landlord. The landlord was on vacation. About an hour later, I heard a shop vac going. I looked out the window. They were shop vacuuming my yard. What in the world? They got in their truck, drove off, waited for them to come back because the only place they replaced the siding is where I had the UFO beam my house. That's the only siding they ever replaced. I finally got a hold of my landlord. He said, I didn't have anybody replace your siding. We called that number that I wrote down on the side of the truck. No such thing, no Bob sighting anywhere.
That was it.
Very curious. Very curious.
But that may not necessarily be Men in Black. That may be, a more out in the open, I guess, government agency trying
It's
to...
the blue-collar Men in Black.
Yeah.
Men in Blue. One thing I will say, I have no desire to debunk this because it's a really cool video. But two quick things. When installing aluminum siding, if, unlike vinyl siding, this is not true necessarily with newer vinyl siding, but in aluminum siding, if one piece is damaged, you are going to have to replace that entire wall. If you had to do one wall, you wouldn't necessarily do the whole house, but you would have to do that whole wall. That is something that kind of stuck out for me as somebody that's worked in that trade for a long time. The other thing is shop vacuuming the yard. When putting up the old style aluminum siding, you use aluminum nails. They can't be picked up by a magnet. So a lot of people do different types of methods to pick up the nails because and a lot of times, like for instance, in newer stuff, you run a magnet around, but magnets don't pick up aluminum, so
Sure.
A lot of times in the old aluminum siding, maybe they would shop vac.
The weird thing about that, though, is if an alien spacecraft brushed the side of his house, and he wanted, and the siding people wouldn't know about that.
Oh no, that part's for weird.
Why wouldn't they let him keep a part of that siding?
Oh, that totally weird.
Yeah,
totally weird.
Why not just say, hey, we return that for scrap or something like that?
And that's what I was going to say too. A lot of times, siders are often stingy with that when it comes to aluminum because you scrap all your aluminum, and these guys are making $8 an hour or something. They're probably like, no, get off my scrap aluminum, pal. Yeah, I did think that as well. That is a legit.
But it's not their aluminum siding, though.
Well, no, but if it was a scrap, it would be.
Oh, it would?
Well, yeah, because a lot of guys, that might be the only way they really make any money is by scrapping a little bit of aluminum. The job, it's extra. It's the way you get paid in a lot of ways. And just because it's not the only way you get paid, but it's you're not making a ton of money. You like to keep the scrap aluminum so you can take it to the scrapyard. Aluminum pays really well. Did then, does now. But I'm not trying to debunk it just because of this. If and these guys, maybe they were aliens, or maybe they were just a crew of guys sent by somebody who said they were the landlord. That's kind of what I think. Maybe they said, "Hey, get over there, side this house immediately, replace the damaged areas. Do not talk to the homeowner, or do not talk to the tenant."
Why would you need to talk to the tenant?
How do you explain
It's not their house.
The phone number not working.
Oh no, that's what I mean, because I think it's crap, But I feel like this would be something more set up.
So do you believe the guy?
I do believe the guy, but I don't necessarily believe that they were. I believe that perhaps somebody would have sent a phony crew of guys out there and said, "Don't say a word to this tenant."
How would you feel about somebody going out there with a video camera taping you? Would you not want your face to be taped? Even if you had nothing?
No, I would not. I wouldn't want my face to be taped. And hey, I feel like I can say this because I worked in the construction trades for a long time. So for you construction guys, don't be too offended. But a lot of construction guys have reasons to not want their face on camera, and maybe they got a warrant. Maybe they. Maybe they're not supposed to be there. Maybe they're collecting. Unemployment. Don't want anyone to see them out there on that job. Pounding nails for a living. Maybe they're on disability. I mean, that's very prevalent out there. Guys, working for cash.
Construction guys are scumbags. Okay, we got it.
No, they are not. They are not. They're just certainly not.
Just because you can explain a few things that that guy couldn't explain the story doesn't mean that it's a fake story.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
It's definitely weird.
Sure.
It's totally weird. I mean,
and the music in the background certainly helped that too.
it sure did. It sure did. Listen, we covered a lot tonight. If there's anything else you guys want to jump in on with Men in Black or any of the related issues, please do so. Is there?
I had a thought earlier on the.
Sure, jump in, please.
So I wasn't here for the Kennedy assassination thing. Is there anybody who actually still believes the official story on that?
Yes. And do you know what I find very weird about that, actually? And this has been helped by government agencies and actually government-funded documentaries that I believe there's actually a resurgence of people who believe that Oswald acted alone. I think more people actually think that now than they did 10 or 15 years ago. College professor I had actually used to talk about it, a regular brilliant guy. Used to talk about it all the time, just say, hey, I've looked into it like crazy, and I think the craziest conspiracy theory of all. I think Oswald acted alone. It was a lone gunman, and there's nothing to be told here. And Jack Ruby was the guy that was pissed off at somebody from murdering his president. But I actually do, and I think there's actually a resurgence of it. I personally believe that that's actually been planted by a lot of people trying to discount
But don't
it.
the bullets, the angle of the bullets not match up?
I think it's nuts. I still think it's nuts to think it's not a conspiracy. I think it's nuts to not think that
it's
there's
one of the most
greater-
obvious ones, isn't
Right,
it?
yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry, Josh, that video that you showed me too of the driver.
it's nuts.
I mean, that's
I don't know how you watch that and don't think something's up with it.
So I actually personally have another reason besides all of that of why I believe that it was basically set up by the government or something, whoever's one, that not
Sure.
to believe the official story. And this, to people listening, it might be like, okay, he could just make this story up. So I know a guy, not going to say his name, older gentleman who was in the military. When I was a teenager, he would occasionally tell me stories, and the guy had top secret access. And actually, him telling the story of how he got top secret access was kind of funny. That says they basically talk to everybody in your family, your friends. They'll all the teachers you ever had, basically everybody ever knew. They'll go interview your first grade teacher. That they know more about you than you do. That they know the first time you masturbated. They know so much about you. So. But he had top secret access, and some of the stories he told me, he's like, straight up, there are things I can't even joke around with. They may never know, but I cannot tell you these things. But there were a few things that he had no problems telling me, like that he was on Air Force's bases, and he would just see entire cargo planes of drugs come in. That was how they basically financed the government. A lot of the backdoor government stuff was financed through basically sale of drugs. And he told me that without a doubt, he knew that Kennedy was assassinated. And the reason that he gave was that because Kennedy basically wanted to take us off the silver standard, that essentially that's what led to it. And that there was no doubt in his mind. Like, he said it like it was like matter of fact.
Sure. I believe it. And that thing about the drugs, I've heard that as well from people who are, have been in the military. And this is, I'm by no means trying to discredit this, but Navy SEALs, Special Forces guys, many of the ones I've talked to, they have no problem talking about this. Yeah. And they will talk about how they know people firsthand who left Special Forces and stayed where they were overseas so they could really make some money.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make good
doing
money
what, like telling the story or being like a mercenary?
Being a mercenary, being a drug dealer, basically.
Oh, okay.
An international drug dealer, if you will. They basically, what they do is, when these areas get raided, they go to, I guess, could be the middleman, or go to the drug producer and say, hey, you could keep some of that guy, or you could sell to us. We got arms, we got munitions, we got ways in and out of all the countries. Like, you don't have to lose your money, just sell to us instead. And they go and make a fortune. Soldier of Fortune is a publication that talks about this at length, has for years. among other ones. So, I don't know. If anyone else wants to throw something in, cool. But if not, before we go to Pumpkin, what do you think? Adam, Men in Black. Do they exist? Basic thoughts.
They do exist. Still not quite sure to what extent, whether or not they're aliens or, if they're part of the Illuminati or if they're... But I do think they exist, just to some extent. So,
Ed, what about you?
Oh, definitely. I think that probably a very high percentage of the stories out there are complete BS fabrications, people trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, make a dime. But without a doubt, they do exist. And what is the common denominator in basically every single one, hoax or not, is that essentially they're trying to suppress information. And I think nowadays...
specifically on UFOs.
Yeah, specifically on UFO. Maybe some other things, but anything that could basically maybe blow the lid off. And I think there's probably far less of a need nowadays because there are so many other means of basically combating that and controlling information. And, it's... You're so much more likely to believe it is a hoax or a forgery nowadays. Like if I came here and said, yeah, on my way over here today I saw a UFO, you guys are going to go, yeah, bullshit, you didn't see one. If I told the random person on the street, they're not going to believe me. But, 30, 40 years ago, maybe it was kind of a bigger deal, especially if you had something that could actually constitute proof.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I do. I definitely think that this exists. I believe many of these stories, actually. I think I don't necessarily view them as extraterrestrials, and that's, I use that term in the widest possible sense. I tend to lean on a larger government organization, whether it's the U.S. government or a world government, such as an Illuminati-esque thing. When I say Illuminati, like I've said before, I kind of mean that as a blanket term to describe any of these potential secret agencies, secret societies. But I definitely believe that these Men in Black exist to some degree, and I actually do believe that there's been disinformation spread, and whether the Will Smith movie is a direct example of that or an indirect example of it, I think it's an example of it.
Isn't Will Smith a Scientologist too?
Is he?
I'm not sure. I know he actually says that he's I don't think he is a Scientologist.
No.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he's not. I know he says that he is a proud Christian. I remember him saying that. I just remember that from the when he did the Ali movie.
No.
Saying that he really respects other religions, that he's a proud Christian. You can technically be Christian still or be a different religion and be Scientologist, but it's frowned upon, especially in the high up ones. Nicole Kidman ran into big problems with that. Because she refused to stop being Catholic, and at first they told her, of course, that's completely fine. And then as she got higher and higher,
she got
up,
to level 7B.
then that became intolerable.
Well, did they keep on? Did she keep on giving them money? Because I'm assuming if she kept on giving them a shit ton of money,
when she was with Tom Cruise,
then they would have thought it was probably okay. Then.
When she was with Tom Cruise, even with it became a big problem for her.
Scientology's worked out pretty well for Tom Cruise. He's had a kick-ass career and generally makes pretty good movies. Guy might be a scumbag in real life, but man, I love his movies.
Yeah, no, he makes
one last thing, Josh. One last thing before we go to Pumpkin, Josh.
Sure.
Just to tie in another deep issue, or it wasn't a deep issue, but when we did the Jesus episode,
yes.
Perhaps this is
got a lot of good feedback on that episode, by the way. So thanks to everyone who listened to it.
Good. Perhaps this is a reason for suppressing something like this, UFO or aliens or whatever. Is in the Gospel of Thomas, the clergy, the church, didn't want that to come out at the time, perhaps because of it essentially gave people power. Power away from the church. Maybe the aliens give people a power away from the ruling authority now.
Perhaps.
Maybe that's the suppression, which would, in a sense, kind of eliminate the fact
would look
that
like
these
something
are
that we should rebel against if they knew that aliens were there. If we knew that aliens were pulling the strings, controlling aspects of our daily life, controlling aspects of our governments or our world governments, perhaps that would be a reason for us to rebel in their minds.
Or maybe it's the aliens, the ones that are trying to get us to rebel against
Perhaps.
the government.
You know what, guys? This reminds me of one quick thing. I wanted to leave you guys with this before we go to Pumpkin. I mentioned something earlier that I was going to talk about this. An anthropological thing, a cultural thing, a historical thing, or a pseudo-historical thing, if you will. When the bubonic plague was striking Europe, there were many, many instances. A lot of times this was written off as this person must have the plague, this person is beginning to see things, they're losing their mind, they're moving on. At first this was highly reported, and then it's speculated that it stopped being reported because people realized that if I say that I saw this, they think I have the plague, and they write me off. But many people claimed to see, before a plague would hit a certain area, they would see men dressed completely in black.
Oh, God.
And this idea, they say that this idea is kind of where we get the imagery for the Grim Reaper. The dressed in black with the sickle. And a lot of people at the time thought that this was a symbol that the plague was coming to your area. Was this symbolic of the Grim Reaper? Was this symbolic of the, symbolic of somebody losing their mind and being brought in by the plague? Was this the very first sightings of men in black circling around the potentially alien-brought bubonic plague? To this day, they still don't exactly know why that hit so hard like it did. And many speculate that it came from an extraterrestrial source. Whatever that may mean. Doesn't necessarily mean that, aliens purposely dropped it, but did this come from a potential extraterrestrial source? And were those images of black the original Men in Black? I don't know. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe I just blew our whole thing by throwing this ridiculously crazy thing out at the end. But
We ready to go to Pumpkin?
let's go to Pumpkin.
All right. So actually, this will be 2 weeks.
Yes, in 2 weeks, the all-knowing Pumpkin will reveal to us what our new... Actually, right now, the all-knowing Pumpkin will reveal to us, but in 2 weeks we will discuss this issue. Ed is reaching his hand into Pumpkin as we speak. He's handing off the mystical piece of paper to Adam.
Sorry, Pumpkin must never touch the ground.
Yeah, no, Pumpkin definitely, unless you want to be cursed. But Pumpkin has revealed our next Deep Issues topic to Adam, and now Adam will reveal it to us all.
The next Deep Issues cast will be Atlantis.
Ooh, that's a cool one. Right on. Okay. Atlantis. We've got a lot of cool theories on this. We talk about High Brazil. We talk about a lot of cool stuff.
Aquaman.
Yes, Aquaman. Aquaman, or if you're a Marvel fan over Aquaman, Namor the Submariner. However, whatever comic book you prefer, I'm sure those things will come up. But cool. In 2 weeks, we will discuss Atlantis. We got a cool show lined up for you next week where we're going to bust out about some of the things that Adam and I have been dying to talk about, but we've been having so many deep issues and segmented shows. And then after that, we'll have a special Star Wars theory show with special guest Brad Davis. But thanks everyone for tuning in to the Deep Issues. Please tune in 2 weeks from now for the next Deep Issues cast where we'll talk about Atlantis like we just said. But also, don't forget to tune in next week for our regular scheduled program of Webisode number 46. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. For me, I'm Josh. For Adam, for Eddie. We'll see you soon, I hope.